Good afternoon. My name is Tanisha Brown, and this is my digital forensics project. The title I decided to name it was Digital Forensics in Action, a Real World Case Study by me. In this presentation, I will take you through a real world digital forensics case, showcasing the methods used, tools applied, ethical issues considered, and how digital forensics has evolved over time. So let's begin by exploring details of a real world scenario where the insider threats led to a digital forensics investigation. After decades of silence, the BTK killer resurfaced in 2004, unknowingly handing the police the digital clue that led to his arrest. I decided to do my project on the BTK killer, a cold case that was reopened. Dennis Rader, the BTK serial killer, murdered 10 people in Kansas from 1974 to 1991. In 2004, he submerged communicate with law enforcement. He would send a floppy disk to the police. He would send these floppy disks because he thought he was untouchable, that they could not figure out who he was. And because it took over 10 years for them to find who he was, he felt like he would never get caught because of the floppy disk. How he would send messages, encrypted messages to the police, taunting them. How he was discovered, what police did when forensics got better in 2004, what they did was they extracted metadata from the document that was on the disk. He would send, like I stated, encrypted messages on like a Microsoft Word document. And back then, because the technology wasn't as advanced as it is even today, they couldn't figure out who it was because it was just a document on a floppy disk. But they were able, back in 2004, they were able to narrow down their suspect list. So what they did was they extracted metadata from the floppy disk, which because of the advanced forensics in 2004, it showed an author as a dentist from the Church, Christ Luther Church. So that's how they were able to narrow down the suspect list. He was cross-referenced with the church database. Once they were able to confirm the disk's origin, the forensics team followed the proper imaging protocols and validated the digital evidence in court. So what they did was, once they figured out and they extracted the metadata from that Word document and figured out who they narrowed down their suspect list to, they were able to preserve that disk and preserve it for court, the metadata, and deleted the file that was covered. Okay, so even if the file was deleted, what they were able to do from that floppy disk is pull files from it, so he was able to be caught. He was also caught from DNA evidence too as well, which we know DNA evidence was a lot more advanced in 2004 than it was back in the 1970s. They were able to identify him with a discarded tissue from Rader's home. In case it was likely used for the disimaging and the metadata extraction, um, this was very key into identifying the files of the author. They were able to put that floppy disk in, look and see, using EnCase to look and see like who this document was associated with. Where did this document come from? Can we figure out who's been doing all these killings since the 70s? Um, they were able to follow the correct chain of custody, um, and make sure it was not admissible evidence reporting. Another forensics tool that was more than likely used was FTK. Supported the investigation with keyword searches and timeline analysis, reinforcing the evidence trail. So I'm pretty sure they were able to put in keywords of maybe different cases or different evidence that they had from previous of his victims to kind of narrow down a time creation of when these things happen, or was he there at this place and this time. They did a lot of keyword searching and file carving, because you can do a lot of that in FTK, which that helped them, I believe, create a timeline for the murders and a timeline to place him at the murders, and a timeline to say, okay, this is him taunting the police, thinking he will never get caught. I think both tools serve distinct roles in the investigation. In case for evidence preservation and FTK for file analysis. Um, I was able to, because I'm familiar with both of the forensics tools, I was able to see like what was some of the features and what was some of the strengths and the focuses on both of these forensics tools. And some of the features that I came up with would be the device, what the feature focuses on. With Encase, it focuses a lot on imaging and reporting. We've used a lot of that in just some of the forensic classes I have been in. Is you're able to see a lot of imaging and the reporting of the images and everything in the case. The interface is GUI and it can be scriptable. Some of the strength is metadata reporting. Like I stated with the case, they were able to, that's how they were able to catch him, was metadata reporting. With FTK, some of the device focuses on search and recovery. They were able to search and recover a lot of documents that he had. It is GUI interface and it allowed them to create a timeline, um, just by even searching a keyword in FTK. You can kind of create a timeline on when something was sent or when something was done. Some of the ethical considerations, even in the case with overwhelming evidence, forensic analysts must adhere to ethical and legal boundaries. Doesn't matter how much they think someone is guilty. Doesn't matter anything. They have to make sure it's under a legal, so no, legal boundaries. Some of the challenges I believe that were faced was the right to privacy versus public safety, the chain of custody and due to process, and avoiding confirmational biases. So I think even with the amount of evidence that they have, like, okay, they know this person is guilty and know like this person did this crime, they still have to abide by ethical and legal boundaries. I think ethical digital forensics requires discipline and sticking to protocols, limiting access, and keeping a clear audit trail. So basically, keeping a paper trail of everything that you do, because it's crucial, really, to a case. It's crucial to evidence, and it is really crucial to figure out if someone's guilty or not, because that's your way of proving that. Some of the best practices for ethical investigation that I came up with was secure and image evidence immediately. So when finding an image on any of those, like Encase or um, any of those digital forensics tools that you use, make sure you secure it immediately, because you don't want it tampered with, because it could ruin your entire case. Minimize personal data exposure. So don't make it any personal, any type of thing that could damage your case. Um, Also, maintaining objectivity and documentation. So it is very important to document everything you do, so you won't mess up the case, or you won't jeopardize anyone's case, or really a killer won't walk free as well. In my evolution timeline of digital forensics, I believe digital forensics has evolved rapidly from floppy disks, really, to floppy disks, to CDs, to computers with the big backs on them, to Apple products, to phones, to now just using AI with a lot of new technology to come. The BTK case is a pivotal milestone in the history of digital forensics, because where we had a floppy disk that a criminal was using to taunt the police, later down the line in 2004, they were able to say, okay, let's put this back into the system. Let's try to use these different softwares that we have now to find out who this killer was. In my prediction, I think it's going to advance. It it's going to continue advancing. It's advancing every day. In conclusion, to my cold case project, in summary, I feel like digital forensics is both science and art to me. It's the balance of legal and technological skills and ethical judgment. The BTK investigation shows the lasting impact of responsible digital forensics in even the most cold case complexes. So I'm pretty sure they've been able to solve plenty of cold cases with just having different forensic software. Um, I believe digital forensics has helped solve a lot of decade-old cases. Um, Tools like Encase and FTK were very important in this particular case. Ethics and proper methods ensured justice because he did go to jail for 10 consecutive lifetime sentences for the 10 people he did kill. Um, I think digital forensics continues to evolve with technology, and I think it needs to evolve because the more technology people have access to, the more bad things people do, in my opinion. Thank you for listening to my slideshow. I hope you learned some things about different digital forensic tools and also how they were able to catch a killer. Um, and these are some of my references if you want to go look up just want to see like, okay, how did they really catch him or just was interested in finding out how they caught the BTK killer. Thank you so much and everyone have a wonderful day.